of the individual's life. But if we count that as an idol in our life and we look at it as a loss, then it will begin to cause problems in our situation. And that's why we need to begin to understand what's taking place and take a closer look. Okay, continue reading.
Principle number 6, do not focus on the future. If your consciousness is focused on the future, your ability to change reality is lessened. Even if it does not have fantasy, it will at least have some areas that are undefined. You are where your consciousness is. If your consciousness is focused on the future, your ability to change reality, which rests in the now, is lessened.
Good. Now, I want to say something about that. If your consciousness is in the future, you cannot do anything in the reality of the now. Because when you start to understand that, and this is said by Stuart Wilde, is that you are where your consciousness is. You are where your consciousness is. I want everybody to type that in. You are where your consciousness is. You are where your consciousness is. You are where your consciousness is. So your ability to change reality, which rests in the now, is lessened because you can't change the reality of the now because you're still somewhere in the future. Living in someday does not allow you to deal with this day. You lose this day when you get lost in someday.
Master Prophet, that is so true, because what happens, your focus becomes divided. And this is also another reason why we read in the scripture, "Hear, O Israel, for the Lord our God is one." God lives in a eternal now. He doesn't live in the past or the future. He lives in the now. And when you begin to have that divided focus, what you're doing, your power becomes weakened because you have some of your energies in the future, and then here, it must always be in the oneness. That's where God is. He lives in the oneness of the now.
Amen. Okay. Read on, Prophetess Kelly.
To keep your affirmation in the eternal present, you have to believe its truth, even if you do not as yet have your need met. By concentrating on the moment, cutting out all unnecessary distraction, you will feel the full strength of your power, and the universal law will motivate and enliven you.
Amen. All right. Now, desired outcome. Principle number 7, adhering to the law of focus will bring your desired outcome when you adhere. As we persist in thinking about our goals, we think of it not as a far-off dream, but as being already accomplished. We protect it from doubt, fear, and anxiety, or any other negative thoughts until it has become manifest in our experience. This is the role of self-determination, perseverance, persistence, and focusing the attention. This is the way we use willpower effectively. So we began to learn how to come into focused attention in order to effectively use willpower. Now let's look at concentration, Prophetess Kelly.
Principle number 8. Without concentration, one can master nothing.
Okay, so I want everyone to type that in. Without concentration. Without concentration, one can master nothing. Without concentration, one can master nothing. Okay, read on.
Without concentration, one can master nothing. Without concentration or divinity, which shapes and controls the universe, one cannot unlock the divinity within oneself or become a universal man. To meditate is to focus or concentrate. All artists need to focus and concentrate.
Good. And so that's why we need to begin to understand concentration, focus, because if you do not focus, you don't become a universal man, you become a fragmented man. And we've got to become universal minded so that we can reach into every man's world. And when you become a universal man, you become a God man. Say with me, when I become a universal man,
When I become a universal man,
I become a God man.
I become a God man.
Okay, read on.
Principle number 9, focus on the process.
Okay, focus on the process. Read on.
By focusing on the process and not the product, we are detoxing art from being merely a production or an exercise in technique and are returning to the mind's work itself. A side effect of this practice is that very often one discovers in art as meditation how much art one has inside one. But that is a side effect. The purpose is to discover the being inside the artist.
Good. Discover the being inside the artist. So by focusing on the process and not the product, we are detoxing art from being merely a production or an exercise in technique and are returning to the mind's work inside. See, a lot of times people get so focused on the product and they miss enjoying the process. And when you miss the process, you lose out on life because you're really living in the future that you're not even mastering the now. See, I don't look at just getting your prophecy done. I enjoyed the process of hearing the voice of God. The process becomes more important than the product. Because as I keep fine-tuning the process, the product becomes a greater production. And that's why you got to watch that in a materialistic society, that you don't become so product-driven that you begin to be process-forgotten. That you forget the process. Because, see, you should have joy in making the bags if you do bags. You should have joy in cooking if you're making food. You should have joy in doing filming if you are a filmmaker. See, the joy has got to be in the process. See, my joy is not just to get your body healed. My joy is the process of moving you towards wholeness. So the process has got to become greater than the production. And if you miss the process and don't have joy in the process, you're not going to have success in life. So this is what it is with the artist. The artist has to enjoy doing the masterpiece. The artist, someone says, how do you get the Carnegie Hall? And they asked an accomplished musician that was playing at Carnegie Hall. He says, how did you get to Carnegie Hall? He said, practice, practice, practice. Another person asked another individual that was successful in music and said, how do you get to a place like Lincoln Center? He says, Lincoln Center is no different than my rehearsal. You ask a ball player, how do you begin to become a most valuable player? Because it's not something I work towards. It's just that I just enjoy playing. And the reward came as a result. So people say, well, Master Prophet, I just enjoy prophesying. I enjoy peeking and looking into your future and giving you the mind of God concerning your life. The process must always become greater than the product. That is where you begin to see good art. Okay, continue on.
Principle number 10, God focuses on your divinity. We have been misled by the focus on his divinity. We have overlooked the fact that he focused on our divinity. He said, in effect, you can do what I do if you have the faith, if you make the decision, the decision for Christ. But this is simply a decision to accept the Christ in yourself.